Hi, this is the first of series of 5G awareness campaigns. In this video, I will be looking at the imposed without consultation implementation of 5G telephone monopoles and highlighting the health concerns regarding the use of radiofrequency Group 2B carcinogen communication devices. You may have noticed during the lockdown there was a mad rush to install 5G telephone monopoles around the UK, especially in the inner city areas where the representation and the makeup of the community is predominantly from the BAME background. A new court ruling in Britain upholds the rights of people to know the dangers of unproven 5G microwave technology. In Gateshead, UK Recorder Nolan QC refused to gag a pro-health and safety campaigner, Steele. The judge asserted that the public have a right to know whether the next generation of Wi-Fi communication relying on direct powerful microwave energy causes cancer and other health risks. The outcome is a bitter blow to Gateshead Council. They had hoped to use the court appearance to ridicule Steele's status as an expert, despite his claim that the prestigious Harvard University now supports his 5G fears. Pro-health and safety campaigner Steele.
I think it's correct. I should be able to debate this back with Gateshead Council. Gateshead Council should answer the second question that I put to them about these transmitters being hazardous, administering noxious substance. That current classification should be a class 1 cancer causing radiation. And not only that, you know, Gateshead Council have actually set up their own funeral directors on the increase of deaths that have happened across Gateshead. Now, they have actually told me in a statement that there's been no increase of cancer, no increase of heart attack, and no increases in stroke. That is not the case. It's demonstrably not true. Public Health England states clearly there's an increase, particular to Gateshead Borough, on these increases from illnesses that they were warned about.
Mark says the 5G is a battlefield interrogation system. They are one of the reasons why significant numbers of troops on battlefields have suffered neurological disorders and committed suicide when they come back from battle space.
You cannot bring an experimental technology and deploy it on your streets without your full consent. There's been no consent, nobody knew. We've got LED street lights in Gateshead with 5G technology attached to it. We've got children bleeding from the nose. We've got people being sick. We've got people dying. We've had a 23% increase in stroke since the deployment. Nobody wants that technology. It is not, absolutely not for your mobile device.
Erica Mallory Blythe, founder of FIRE, which stands for Physicians' Health Initiative for Radiation and Environment. The group was formed about 11 years ago as scientists and medical doctors came together to form the initiative, which is all about non-ionizing radiation health effects. She says the reason that I started this is because exposure to non-ionizing radiation have risen dramatically in recent years.
And this is a certificate that some of you may be familiar with, but I'm guessing most of you won't. This was issued by the World Health Organization in 2011 via IARC, which is the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And what this certificate says is that microwave radiation or radio frequency radiation is classified as a group 2B carcinogen. That means possibly cancerous to humans. Around 2000, the Stewart report, Sir William Stewart, it was a commissioned report by the government at the time to look into health effects of this kind of radiation. And they made a statement that no part of a school or the school's grounds should fall in the highest intensity beam of a mobile phone base station because of health concerns. I think very smart advice. Unfortunately, we didn't take any notice of that advice because we are now putting devices inside classrooms that have a higher signal strength than 100 metres from your mobile phone base station. Reproductive health effects, I think, are increasingly important, and especially important when we're looking at young populations of children in schools. And I've chosen these images to loosely represent a cycle of life, if you like. So if we start in the middle, boy meets girl, generally these days on Facebook or Twitter, but let's say they fall in love and they want to start a family. Figures are variable, but I've seen everything from 1 in 5 to 1 in 3 couples struggling to conceive. That's the figures out in the literature. That's an enormous number. And this type of EMF affects every part of that cycle. If we start with the brain, we know that Wi-Fi can interfere with memory function, cognitive ability, behaviour. So that could impair your chances of successfully finding a mate. But more specifically, it also affects certain glands like the pineal gland, the pituitary, that help regulate your reproductive cycles and producing sperm and eggs. There's some direct effects then on sperm and eggs. And sperm, we know there's alterations to morphology, so that means the way they look, their structure, 2 heads, no tails, that kind of thing. And their motility, the way they swim. And there's some research that shows that sperm can die 3 times faster when it's been more highly exposed to radiation than that doesn't. And
it's a matter that merits the most serious attention. 2 of the fastest working and fastest growing parts of the body, the brain and sperm. But what they have in common is something on which the future of our species depends. How many of you know that 1 in 6 American couples is unable to have a child when they want to? How many of you know that last year the birth rate in this country dropped the most that it ever has in recent history? According to the CDC, 3% in a single year. Now, I want to let you in on a dirty secret. Phones are not tested in the way they're used.
Now that we know the dangers of this imposed technology, what can we do as concerned citizens of tomorrow to prevent further casualties? Stop 5G campaigners, Bristol.
So far in Bristol, we have stopped 7 out of 8 masts, and that's literally in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've just been leafleting people. We have been working on the whole thing since last year, but then what happened recently is that we actually under COVID, it's kind of crystallised our efforts, because what we found is suddenly we were preparing for this, and all of a sudden they're all being rolled out under lockdown. So we found a way now, we're getting a bit better, we're still learning and doing as we go, but we're finding that getting to local residents, we produce a template and then we put local information on there, the link, we put a bit link on the flyer, we make a flyer, and then from the flyer we put a bit link, and that takes you into a template. When you just type that in the computer, that gives you all the information that you need basically to object, including a link to the actual objection. You can look at other people's objections and copy and paste from theirs. That's the beauty of it, it's public information, so you can look for yourself, see what they've done. What a lot of people don't know is that you can object not just in your area but anywhere in the country. Council sites allow that. So at the bottom you either tick if you're a neighbour, so it's not your actual area but nearby, or you can tick other. And if you tick other, you could actually even say, I have a friend or family that lives in that area, I'm not very happy about it, you know, but the council, the key thing if you object, this is key, is that you mention the site of it, S-I-T-E, and the appearance, because the government have instructed councils to only accept objections on that basis. But what we're doing, we're doing that and saying it's an ugly thing and we don't want it and it's near a green space and it's going to tower above the trees. And then we put the health concerns and we give the quotes from Fire Medical, PHIRE, the EHS Trust, the bioinitiative.org, safeemr.com. So then that starts people going. But they can, once they realise it's not difficult, you know, and you've got half an hour to put it in, but even if it times out, you can go back in because it keeps it for you. So cut and paste it and get in there and do it.
So a few weeks you've stopped how many? 7?
7 out of 8
7
so far.
out of
1
8
accepted,
masts.
but that was actually on council property, so we're now wondering if there's been some instruction that people can actually, the council can't really refuse them on their own buildings that they own.
Right.
But where they've put it on other spaces, we've managed to stop everyone, even right at the gateway to Bristol. Look for objections as well. Look for mistakes they've made. So addresses, sometimes they make mistakes. There's never a health and safety certificate.
Right.
There just isn't, and nor is there a certificate for exclusion zone, i.e. the area that's affected by the mast, because they don't know it, they don't have it, and that's something they need by law.
Yes.
So when you start to get that, what you could do is look at some of the Bristol planning applications, for instance, and have a look at what people have written, because they're open to the public. You just look under. You go into the look at planning application, it'll be the same in your area, and then you'll type in, just another little tip, type in monopole in the search for the council planning. Monopole gets it. If you put mast or antenna, it doesn't work. But if you put monopole, you'll suddenly get a list of them all, and then you can look and see the ones.
See your town and monopole, right?
Yeah. So go into your council.
Right.
When you get look at and track planning applications is what it usually says.
Right.
And then eventually you'll get to a little search box. And when it says search, just put monopole, M-O-N-O-P-O-L-E.
Right. This is on your council's website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Put that in, and then you'll get a list of everything that says monopole in your, and they're all the 5G masts.